A March 7th report by the Globe and Mail revealed that in 2016, during the early days of his premiership, Justin Trudeau met with Paul King-jin, a British Columbia businessman who later became a central figure in the province's money laundering investigation. 3 sources confirmed the meeting took place. The meeting reportedly occurred in a conference room at the now-closed Executive Inn Express Richmond near Vancouver's airport. At the time, Trudeau faced criticism for attending cash-for-access fundraising events. The reason for the meeting remains unclear. One source disclosed that Paul King-jin immigrated to Canada from China in 1989 and was accompanied at the meeting by Rongxiang Tiger Yuan, another Chinese national. That year, Yuan made 3 political donations totaling $4,299.20, twice to the Liberal Party of Canada and once to the Papineau Federal Liberal Association. Papineau is Trudeau's Montreal riding. Yuan, a Chinese Communist Party (CCP) veteran with close ties to the Chinese government, had been photographed attending social events with Chinese diplomats on multiple occasions. Before this meeting with Trudeau, Paul King had already been on the radar of Canadian authorities for years. A former member of China's national boxing team, King was banned from British Columbia casinos for 1 year in 2012. Gaming investigators later discovered him delivering a bag containing over $150,000 in cash to a casino in New Westminster, BC, leading to a 5-year ban. The Royal Canadian Mounted Police, RCMP, alleged that between 2012 and 2015, King was involved in at least $23 million in casino transactions. The first police investigation into King, dubbed E-Pirate, began in 2015. In mid-October of that year, police searched a property they believed King was using to operate an unlicensed casino. In April 2016, police raided Silver International, a small lending company where King frequently obtained cash. A second operation, E-Nationalize, launched in early 2017, was highly complex and involved over 100 officers. Silver International's ledgers showed that in just 137 days in 2015, its debit balance reached $83 million, with a credit balance of $81 million. Police observed King carrying bags and suitcases from Silver International. They alleged he then delivered smaller bags to local casinos, where recipients bought in with large cash sums, including one instance of $90,900. In a safe linked to King, police found over $4 million in $20 and $100 bills, bundled with rubber bands. In 2022, British Columbia Supreme Court Justice Austin Cullen, who led the province's money laundering inquiry, concluded in a detailed report. Silver International was a clearinghouse for the proceeds of crime. While there is no definitive evidence that the cash Silver International received and provided to Mr. Jin in British Columbia came from profit-driven crimes like drug trafficking, I believe it is inescapable that most, if not all, of the cash left behind by Silver International originated from criminal activity, and that Silver International was facilitating money laundering for one or more organized crime groups. Despite this, King has never faced a criminal trial over these allegations. Peter German, a former RCMP deputy commissioner who left the force in 2012, said whether Trudeau's meeting with King was appropriate depends on the context. German authored reports on BC's money laundering issues for the provincial government in 2018 and 2019, but was unaware of the meeting. He said, "What Trudeau actually knew, what his people told him, and what the purpose of the meeting was, that's what matters." Beyond the Paul King meeting, Trudeau's handling of the Meng Wanzhou case during his tenure was widely criticized as indecisive, failing to effectively protect Canadian interests while also unable to prevent the long-term deterioration of Canada-China relations. Meng Wanzhou, Huawei's chief financial officer, CFO, and daughter of Huawei founder Ren Zhengfei, worked for a company, a global leader in telecommunications equipment, scrutinized by Western nations for its technological prowess and potential ties to the Chinese government. In 2018, the U.S. Department of Justice launched an investigation into Meng and Huawei, alleging that through its subsidiary Skycom, the company violated U.S. sanctions on Iran. The U.S. claimed Meng misled HSBC in 2013 about Huawei's relationship with Skycom, leading HSBC to breach sanctions in what was described as bank fraud. Based on the U.S.-Canada extradition treaty, the U.S. requested Canada to arrest and extradite Meng, citing her transit through Canada as grounds for lawful detention. On December 1, 2018, Meng was arrested by the Canada Border Services Agency, CBSA, while transiting through Vancouver International Airport. The arrest, executed by the RCMP under a U.S. provisional warrant, saw Meng detained for hours, her electronic devices confiscated, and later released on bail with an electronic ankle monitor and supervised residence. 9 days later, on December 10, 2018, Beijing authorities detained 2 Canadians, Michael Spavor, a businessman, and Michael Kovrig, a former diplomat, on charges of endangering national security. This was widely seen as retaliation for Meng's arrest, sparking a hostage diplomacy controversy. On September 24, 2021, amid U.S.-China negotiations, the Biden administration's Justice Department reached a deferred prosecution agreement, DPA, with Meng. She admitted to some facts but did not plead guilty, and the U.S. agreed to suspend charges. That same day, a Canadian court terminated the extradition process. Meng was freed, and she flew back to China that evening. Hours later, China released Spavor and Kovrig, who returned to Canada. The Meng Wanzhou case was a complex interplay of law, diplomacy, and geopolitics. For Canada, it exposed the Trudeau government's limitations in navigating great power conflicts, unable to fully break free from U.S. influence or effectively counter China's retaliation. For China, it reinforced its tit-for-tat diplomatic style, but deepened tensions with the West. Additionally, the Trudeau Foundation donation scandal further fueled public outrage over potential foreign interference involving Trudeau and his family, escalating into a national controversy. Established in 2001 to honor former PM Pierre Trudeau, Justin's father, the Trudeau Foundation aimed to support social sciences and humanities research through scholarships and projects, positioned as an independent nonprofit charity. In 2002, the Canadian government provided it with a $125 million endowment. In 2016, 2 Chinese businessmen, Zhang Bin and Niu Gensheng, pledged $200,000 to the foundation as part of a $1 million donation package. The remaining $750,000 funded scholarships at the University of Montreal's law faculty, and $50,000 went toward a Pierre Trudeau statue, co-sponsored by the pair. Zhang Bin, a Chinese billionaire and chair of the China Cultural Industry Association, seen as closely tied to Beijing, was accused of being a senior CCP advisor, casting doubt on his donation motives. Though $200,000 was pledged, the foundation received only $140,000 in 2 $70,000 payments via Millennium Golden Eagle International, Canada, a company registered in Canada but linked to a Beijing-based parent firm. The foundation initially argued this wasn't foreign money since it came through a Canadian registered entity. Then CEO Morris Rosenberg told the National Post in December 2016 that it complied with Canada Revenue Agency, CRA, charitable donation rules. In February 2023, the Globe and Mail, citing unnamed national security sources, reported that Canadian Security Intelligence Service, CSIS, intercepts showed Zhang's donation was part of a Chinese government effort to influence Justin Trudeau, who had just become Liberal leader and PM in 2015, via the foundation. China allegedly aimed to leverage the donation and related activities to sway the Trudeau family. In April 2023, former foundation chair Pascal Fournier testified in Parliament that the foundation misled the public by claiming the funds were Canadian, despite tax receipts indicating a Chinese source. She said this eroded public trust. Conservative Party leader Pierre Poilievre demanded a full CRA audit of the foundation, calling it a Beijing-funded entity, and questioning the Trudeau government's independence. In April 2023, amid politicized controversy, Fournier and most board members resigned, citing an unworkable political climate. Only 3 interim directors remained to keep it operational. The donation scandal heightened Canadian vigilance toward Chinese influence, and while Trudeau's later China policy appeared tougher, tightening foreign investment reviews, tangible results remained elusive. Finally, there's the high-profile Xianggu Q case. Chu Xiangguo, a prominent Chinese-Canadian virologist born in Tianjin, China, came to Canada in 1996 for graduate studies, and later joined the National Microbiology Laboratory, NML, in Winnipeg. She led vaccine development and antiviral treatment in the Special Pathogens Program, earning a Governor General's Innovation Award in 2018 for developing Z-MAP, an Ebola treatment used during the 2014 West Africa outbreak. Her husband, Kading Cheng, a biologist as well, worked at the same lab. Notably, NML is Canada's only Biosafety Level 4 (BSL-4) lab, handling dangerous pathogens like Ebola and Nipah virus, with highly sensitive research materials and data. According to the Canadian Broadcasting Corporation, CBC, Q arranged to ship Ebola and Nipah virus samples from NML to the Wuhan Institute of Virology, WIV, in China on March 31, 2019. Described as routine collaboration for public health research, it later raised security concerns. On July 5, 2019, Chu Cheng and several Chinese students were escorted out of NML by the RCMP and security personnel, with their clearances revoked. The Public Health Agency of Canada, PHAC, initially called it an administrative issue and possible policy breach, but provided no specifics. After a lengthy investigation, Chu and Cheng were formally fired in January 2021. PHAC withheld detailed reasons, citing only national security. In February 2024, newly declassified CSIS documents revealed more. CSIS assessed that Chu had a clandestine relationship with Chinese institutions, including the Academy of Military Medical Sciences, despite her repeated denials and lying or feigning ignorance when confronted with evidence. She allowed unauthorized individuals into the lab and provided pathogens and research data to WIV, potentially aiding Chinese military research, including possible bioweapons development. The documents mentioned her involvement in WIV's Project 1, mRNA vaccine research, and Project 2, possibly linked to cross-species infection or gain-of-function studies, tied to the March 2019 shipment. The Trudeau government long refused to release details. In 2021, PHAC cited privacy to withhold unredacted files from Parliament, and Trudeau even sued the House Speaker to block their release, an action critics called a cover-up. Trudeau and Health Minister Mark Holland insisted no evidence showed leaks of national secrets or threats to Canada, claiming lab security remained intact. Holland admitted, however, that Q and others showed insufficient rigor with security protocols. Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre called it a major national security failure under Trudeau, accusing the government of allowing Chinese infiltration of Canada's top lab. CSIS files indicated Q leaked sensitive info to Chinese entities, but didn't confirm she sold intelligence or directly spied. Her motives, whether financial, political loyalty, or academic collaboration, remain unclear. Public records show no formal arrest. They were fired and are under national security scrutiny. After over 9 years in office, Trudeau became one of Canada's longest-serving PMs, but his hesitancy and weakness in handling these CCP-related incidents left the public weary and frustrated with his government. His low-key, opaque approach sparked widespread controversy, highlighting his struggle to balance China policy with national security. These incidents were not just scandals, but a microcosm of strained Canada-China relations. Thanks for watching. See you next time.